I was going to go into some ear biscuits. Just so you know, too, I know just to some people this may sound just like the ramblings of insanity, but this is like current state, cutting edge physics and cosmology, reaching out and trying to grasp new concepts that, frankly, are going to be mind boggling to say the least. So if, without going into a bunch of specifics, I just kind of want to throw some tantalizing bits out there and talk about it in some words that are really fun to say because they evoke lots of thought and imagination. What do you think of when I say quantum immortality? Quantum immortality. Wow, that's a trip. Quantum physics, immortal. I'm gonna live forever. I'm living forever in the computers. No, this is kind of how it goes down. In the quantum world, location in existence is defined not by a single point in space-time, but rather that was convenient, but rather by a not by a point in space-time, but by a probability wave. So it's not at any given place at any given time. It's everywhere, evenly distributed across a probability board. So it's not evenly because there are distinct peaks and valleys in the math. But so you can determine, but you're not supposed to determine properties of that are quantum in nature, because mathematically what happens is there's this debacle where we feel that as soon as we take a measurement of an object at its quantum state, that simple act of measuring it influences the outcome and may be deterministic in there even being an outcome. Hence, it's the experiment's inherently flawed from the get-go, obviously. But I was trying to throw out the idea of mathematical interpretations in the form of wave function branches that have a probability of the quantum particles being at any particular instance in space-time. And in the many worlds interpretation, or where quantum multiverses exist, where our reality as we know it is split at every instance in what we perceive as time into a series of ongoing parallel worlds, I guess, for lack of a better term, that and they're not traditional in the sense like, oh, there's another world just over yonder that we can't quite see that's just like us, but you know, you like taking a wanky in your bum more than chicks this time around in that world, huh, mate? So we can't think of it that way, and that's the hardest part, is these ideas that are eventually going to have to be agreed upon if we want to, or improved upon and agreed upon if we want to improve our understanding of the quantum realm and inevitably our existence in the universe. Will take it's going to take some imagination and leaps in knowledge that are going to be life-changing, to say the least. Our understanding of how things work is going to that paradigm is going to get shifted significantly in the not so distant future. But anyways, I'm trying to tell you that some of these concepts may seem like they're out of a sci-fi novel, but a lot of these conundrums and explanations and instances that are described all have a mathematical basis to them. There's ways of testing these properties in the numbers. Excuse me. So they're not just kind of like esoterical and philosophical questions we like to ask about, our consciousness and whatnot. So Copenhagen interpretation, the wave function branches, we don't observe all these other branches at the moment. We only observe our own because it's valid as our reality, and it's split into a gazillion possible ways, but we only observe that one branch because that's our reality. And the others that are parallel and are existing coincidentally at the exact same time and space, but possibly, inevitably dimensionally shifted, and none of the other worlds are accessible, so you can't hop from one to the other back and forth. That's kind of a summation of the many worlds interpretation. Sounds super trippy, like, oh, it's not as trippy as it seems. There are infinite versions of you, and there's a version of you that lives forever. And there's multiple versions of you that eat shit in various different ways, and you happen to be riding the version out that has made the decisions that you've made up to that cause such poor judgment that you clicked on this video. So quantum immortality would be any process leading to mortality also has a wave function branch. So if there's in the many worlds interpretation, if there's multiple outcomes or infinite outcomes that you are immortal, you live forever, there's also probabilistic what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my god, dude, I'm and there's a word I'm looking for that I'm at a loss, and I'm like stumbling over it. Basically, you oh, I forgot what I was talking about. I have to go look that one up again. Oh, I was discussing mortality, immortality, and infinite many worlds interpretation. So, so you have, a ton of mortal versions of your existence, a ton of immortal versions, and as we age, the branches in this many worlds function that you follow, the branches start to narrow down. They start off very broad in nature when you're younger. You're making lots of life decisions that may impact you in various different ways, but as we get older, your decisions become more deterministic and more influential. They carry more weight. So your mortal branches may become statistically more probable for you to experience as your reality. So death is like an incremental process, not like a single quantum state that we inevitably end up in. So basically, the closer you are to death, the fewer many worlds timelines include your survival. Basically, it's kind of it in a nutshell. You've used up your 9 lives, to adopt a cat term, and your quantum immortality is no longer in that world, but in others you live on. That's the mind-boggling part. That's what it's like. It's real easy to talk about it nonchalantly, but it's fucking mind-blowing. Some of this shite, dude. It's crazy, and I think maybe it should be of some interest to you. It fucking blows my mind. That's for sure. And we out.